New intimate chats between Jorgen Fenech and Keith Gembry have been revealed. Konrad Mizzi's lawyers have quit in his libel case against Daphne Caruana Galizia, and a dog has been shot by a hunter after the hunter mistook him for a wild bird. All this and more on Lovin Daily. Good evening, Malta and Gozo. Johnathan Cilia here, joined by Tim Diacono today. I hope you had a lovely weekend. Maybe you caught X Factor Malta last night. Maybe you caught Michelle Muscat's new look. Either way, it's been a massive weekend as far as political news goes, as well as today. So we've got Tim here to jump right into the first story. Tim?
Yes, major story. Former Labour delegate Mark Milleri has published what he claims to be exchange WhatsApp text between Jorgen Fenech and Keith Gembry that took place on 19 November 2019. That is just one day before Jorgen Fenech was arrested over the murder of Daphne Caruana Galizia. In these chats, Jorgen Fenech can be seen telling Gembry not to leave him alone and to give him support. Meanwhile, Gembry responds that Fenech needs to be aggressive, that he needs to fight, and he even sent him an article about the arrest of Melvin Thoma. They then get into a bit of a discussion over whether Jorgen Fenech should leave or not, and also a discussion about potential legal options for Jorgen Fenech. So they're discussing them naming lawyers, like which would be the right legal team. So it clearly shows a very intimate relationship between these two people right before his arrest. This was like less than 24 hours before. So shocking stuff. The fact that this is the most powerful person in government saying this. John, this isn't the first exchange that Mark Milleri has published. Do you expect that this is going to be a feature of the next coming weeks and months, that we're going to, every now and again, more exchanges are going to be published?
I really do think so. So obviously Mark Milleri just released his tell-all expose book, A Rent Seeker's Paradise, both first online and then actually published it, which is actually available to be purchased right now. Mark Milleri is never someone who kind of shied away from telling it as it is. Now, he actually published screenshots of the chats. They have yet to be verified, but obviously he's putting his name and his name behind these chats, and they're very, very telling. If you actually look at them, you see the kind of words and the spelling Keith Gembry and Jorgen Fenech use in their personal lives. You know, a lot of the grammar isn't the best. It's as legit as it can get as far as having an inside look into the intimate lives and the way that businessman Jorgen Fenech, as well as Chief of Staff Keith Gembry, would actually speak to people in close association with them, especially under fire. So, you know, obviously they're discussing, you know, fleeing the country. They're discussing lawyers that they might call upon if they ever end up in court. So if these are real texts, real chats, it's really, really mind-blowing and shocking. So we can't wait to see what Mark Milleri publishes next. But on the topic of lawyers and Caruana Galizia, lawyers representing former Minister Konrad Mizzi in a libel case against Caruana Galizia have actually renounced their brief and quit the job. So these are lawyers Aaron Mifsud Bonici, Abigail Christian and Christopher Vella. They've formally declared that they're renouncing their brief working with Konrad Mizzi in court today. Now this is actually quite an interesting case. It's over a libel case that was initiated years ago when Daphne Caruana Galizia had said that Mizzi was having an affair with one of his political aides. Very, very, you know, strong allegation, something that Konrad Mizzi took personally, so he opened the libel case, which he has not dropped, obviously, even though she's been murdered. The case will now continue, so the case has not come to an end, and lawyer Edward Gott, who was representing the woman that was being accused of being involved in this relationship, will now be representing Mizzi as well. But, you know, I think a lot of people, Tim, were expecting after Caruana Galizia's death for a lot of these libel cases to be dropped. However, it seems that Mizzi is ready to go ahead with this one.
Yes, unfortunately, it's not the only one. There's even a libel case by Joseph Muscat against Daphne Caruana Galizia that's still in place, years after her murder. I think I mean, even though the law doesn't specify that you should drop a libel case and instead, seeing as the civil suit, it can be inherited, can be passed on to her descendants, to her family. I think it's just cruel at this stage to just keep it going. Like, regardless if the story was true or not, she can't defend herself. And her family don't know what information she has
exactly
for everything. So it's just cruel at this stage to keep dragging it on unnecessarily. And talking about another like potentially cruel act, I suppose. Lovin Malta spoke to a man who was walking his dog out in the countryside, as you do, and his dog ended up getting shot by a hunter. Now, I must warn you that we're going to be displaying some images which are going to be quite graphic and they'll be appearing on your screen. But anyway, he told us that he suddenly his dog yelped out and there was a hunter nearby. So obviously this man approached the hunter. It's like, what did you do? The hunter initially said, no, it wasn't me. But then later conceded and said, like, well, yeah, like you weren't making much of a noise and I thought you were a quail. Obviously quail are land creatures, and he might have thought that he was, that the dog was a quail in the bushes. But he didn't even look, he just assumed it was a quail and shot. A police report has been filed. Thankfully the dog will live, so that's good news, but it does go to show, right? You're walking in the countryside, minding your own business. The hunter, to his credit, is doing something that's legal, that has every right to do. But then this happens. So is it a risk just walking in the countryside, with your dog? It shouldn't be a risky behavior. And he rightly told us, it was my dog today. Could have been someone else's child tomorrow.
There you go. No, this is, I think, a very, very Maltese story. And why is it a Maltese story? It's because, hunting, whether you like it or not, is quite popular in Malta. But the reality is there's just not enough space. So now you've got hunters in fields near residential areas. The man speaking to us said that this hunter was in a field 200 meters away from residential areas. But as Tim said, the man probably was in his own field. In fact, the man said to us, he could have been in the man's private field, and that's why the hunter felt comfortable shooting at a bush just because it rustled. But I think it goes back to the fact that this story really goes to show how easy it is for Maltese hunters, men or women actually, to just shoot their guns willy-nilly as they feel fit. If they're on their own field, if they're in their little dura, if they're in their gurna, if they feel that they're somewhere safe and a bit secluded, even though I would go to say that at this point it's very hard to be secluded anywhere in Malta. As soon as they see that little bit of a rustling, they feel comfortable enough to shoot at it, be it a man, woman, child, or dog in this case. So yes, the photos are graphic. 21 pellets were left inside the dog, who will be surviving, but the dog was shot in the face. The man recounted how he heard a loud gunshot, heard his dog yelping, and next thing you know, you've got your dog covered in blood. Then you've got the hunter saying he doesn't really know what happens, and then eventually when they went to get help, the hunter just left. So we don't even know who was really behind this. They can't really follow up on that. And, just to end on this story, the man actually asked, should it be time where pellets and bullets are traceable? So that when you buy a pack of pellets or bullets, you can know who shot them. So in a case like this, you'll be able to trace the person behind it. Let us know in the comments below what you think of that. Moving on to the next story, a bit of an interesting update that is both positive and negative at the same time, kind of. Malta's Environment Minister, Arun Farrugia, has announced that excavation works as well as demolition works can no longer happen after 4 p.m. So obviously Malta is an island that is plagued by the sounds of drills and construction at all hours of the day, it seems. Now, under a new law that comes into effect on the 9th of November, which is tomorrow, right? Works will have to end at 4 o'clock. However, to make up for this, they can now begin at 7:30, which comes as a shock to me because where I live, it seems like construction begins at 7. So to tell me that before this, it was actually supposed to legally start at 8, it seems like a lot of contractors and developers are breaking the law anyway. So
yeah, Arun Farrugia is saying that the reason that this change is being implemented is because families are complaining about demolition works in the evening, of the very disruptive, which is a fair point. The problem though is that they're disruptive wherever and whenever. So if the time frame for demolition has been shortened, what it means is that it will probably take longer. So if a demolition site had taken 2 weeks, it might now take 4 weeks. So
wow,
okay, it's a fair point. So I don't know what to think about it. I do have a demolition site nearby as well, so pleasant.
Who doesn't at this point?
Yeah. So, do you agree with it or not?
Look, the minister said, quote, these steps will strengthen and not weaken the construction industry, which, I'm not really sure that should be the priority at this point, especially if this is being done to help families. So I do hope that families, Maltese citizens, were put first in this and not just developers, because, like I said, when I saw them starting from 8 a.m. to 7:30 a.m., that kind of blew my mind a little bit, you know. With at first I was thinking, okay, brilliant, 4 p.m., that's amazing. But when you actually look into the fine print, it seems like the construction industry, as the minister is saying, is being strengthened with this.
Yes, and finally, a young Nationalist Party activist, Eve Borg-Bonello, has opened up about how she doesn't feel safe walking out of the house alone or even catching a bus alone because of the vicious comments she has received as a result of her activism. So she said that people have told her to kill herself, to get raped, and this is an 18-year-old girl who was even younger when some of these comments were published, so literally a minor. So the absolute hatred in telling a young activist these brutal things that are going to, they'll impact anyone, they would impact someone who's been in the public eye for a long time, let's not deny it, let alone a young girl. But this just goes to show, you know, she wants to that politics is not all. It's not all about people praising you and thanking you and looking up to you. You have to face a lot of this as well. This is one of the big reasons I can say with confidence why many people are put off from politics. So Eve Borg-Bonello left this comment on a video that Lovin Malta published over the weekend. You might have seen it. 4 young women politicians speaking out about the abuse and nasty comments that they received. John, what can you tell us about this video?
Yeah, so as Tim said, we published a new feature yesterday on Lovin Malta's Facebook as well as website, where we spoke to 4 young female politicians as well as political officials about the online harassment, be it sexual, physical or mental, that they face. Now it seems that in Malta we have a bit of an epidemic as well when it comes to people entering politics. Politics are so deeply rooted within our consciousness and our egos that when someone enters politics on the opposite end, many people feel that they can just attack them willy-nilly, bring in their family, bring in their friends, death threats, rape threats. Guys, like, if someone's on the opposite end of your political spectrum, that doesn't mean you are allowed to just attack them from morning to evening online, harassing them to the point that they can't even leave the home, you know. At the end of the day, these people are entering politics because they want to make Malta better, you know. So at the end of the day, we're all on the same page here, whether you agree with how taxes should be or how passports should be sold or a myriad of other issues, there should still be basic respect on here. So in this video, you know, politicians from Labour, Nationalists, as well as ADPD recounted horrific statements that they've seen online. One person said that, you know, someone was going to find their relatives who are in prison and make them pay for it. Another person said that black people should rape her in the middle of the piazza. It's really shocking and graphic stuff. And it's just crazy how easily this seems to be said by men and women online. So definitely check out the video if you haven't yet. Let us know what you think of it. But yes, as Tim said, what's crazy here is that Eve Borg-Bonello further commented after this video came out, and under her comment, people just harassed her even more. You know, people saying, oh, you know, you've kind of stepped into it by raising your voice and criticizing the government. You've allowed yourself to be open to attack 24/7, which is something that I disagree with. You know, you can fairly criticize someone on their policies, but if you're talking about their looks or their glasses or any of these other issues, you know, you've completely lost the plot. You're stepping out of the political debate, and really and truly, you need to take a second, look in the mirror, and figure out if that's truly the way you want your person to be seen online. But do let us know in the comments below what you made of this video and as well of Eve Borg-Bonello's experience. On that note, both from myself and Tim, have an evening full of lovin'.